And it's one of those ones that a lot of people hesitate about, and even once they do, we see many players say, oh, whoa, I didn't think that would actually happen, and then start to go down a lighter, nicer path. And of course, some people just giggle, because there's always those people. So I'm going to go turn this in. Are we turning this in here? Where am I turning this in? See, I'm talking to you guys. I need to pay attention to where I'm supposed to be going for this. Oh, I'm supposed to be going way, way, way away.
Kind of at the end of our demo stuff.
Yeah, this is actually past review for the demo. With
Can't talk now.
I'll just drive around and Steven can ask questions.
I have no idea what the answer to this is. Can I sell my companion for credits?
No, you actually cannot participate actively in slavery. This is an ESRB issue.
We'll send people march in single file to find their numbers.
When they do march, yes, in fact, they will. And you'll be able to tell if they've gotten shot down, because really it's only Imperial troopers that are precise enough to really take us down.
Can you visit any planet you want to, no matter what chapter you're currently in?
Once you have actually unlocked your ship, yes. Before that, you need shuttle passes and things to kind of keep you contained for the first couple of worlds so you can figure out what's going on. But then, yeah, if you want to march off to Corellia and just run around in the war zone and get completely destroyed, you absolutely can. Story is a important thing, but we never want it to be something that limits the base usability of an MMO. Will there be RP PvP servers? I don't know, like we haven't announced anything for it, but I like them. You know, I always want to have a pop-up at the beginning that explains to them what it means, because a lot of times my RP PvP server is filled with guys killing me and going, what's RP? But I think that the Old Republic is a great place for role players. We put a lot of work into making sure that that we have support for that sort of thing. So you guys know, I'm actually the guy who's walking in the games when he's actually playing, because it's not good role playing to run. So I am in support. We haven't made any official announcements around it yet.
This is a good question for the current build. What happens when you die?
Oh my god. Yeah, let's go get me killed, huh? One of the things that we did a lot of work on really trying to shift was, in fact, the death system. So James Owen, who's our erstwhile director, you know, we're talking about the guy who made Baldur's Gate games and Dragon Age, and he likes to kill players. He has a very firm belief that if you can't die, the game becomes very boring very quickly. So he wanted to make sure that we had a death system that would work for that, because the problem is, if you're gonna, let me say, oh, he's elite. He'll probably take me. I can't attack the Bantha. Okay. If you're gonna let players, here, we're just gonna make this really fast. Liz can't help me now. Hey, creature. Okay, he's just gonna eat my head for a little while. Wow, really? It is really funny, because I was watching the press guys get like killed constantly, and I just assumed everything was super brutal right here. So we're gonna watch him munch away at me. He's not the scariest lead I've ever faced. The big important thing is, if you're gonna let players die, if you're going to put them in situations where they have to think, where they have to actually not cakewalk through a combat, you have to make the death system pretty forgiving. When you're playing a single-player game, you don't even mind cranking up the difficulty on some of this stuff, because if you do happen to die, you're just going to reload, right? Your penalty is as much as your computer handles the reload piece. So even on the worst thing, you know, maybe 20, 30 seconds, you're back in the action. If every time that you're going to die, you have a huge penalty, you have to run back a long ways, players are going to get very mad very quickly. So we still have the return to med center, which you can do, but we've also added in the medical probe. And the medical probe takes a few seconds, keys up, and then here we go. So I now have 12 seconds that I can run off to someplace that's not aggro. So I'm fully stealthed at this point, and it's like a super uber dev stealth, like players can't see you, nobody can see you, you're all cool. And obviously, we know that every player class has a out-of-game heal. So you can heal yourself right back up, get right back into the action. It's actually possible to do some pretty fun stuff with this. Playing on our current build, me and one other guy ran a 4-man heroic by ourselves using some clever, okay, we'll die here and it's perfectly fine to res and have one guy try to do a thing while another guy dies. You distract that guy and run the elite round in circles. It's fun and it gives you a lot of flexibility and it makes death less of a fear. The more you die, the higher, sort of a traditional old PvP way, the more you die, the higher the timer goes up. So eventually it might take you 10 minutes for your med thing if you were dying constantly as we were.
Question about Corellia. Does Corellia serve any other purpose other than being he thinks it's a war zone. Maybe he means Alderaan. I'm not 100% sure.
So Alderaan is a war zone and has a full, giant, amazing planet that you guys are probably going to get to see a lot of footage of from the show floor because we're actually showing some really cool stuff from Alderaan behind closed doors. So look for your press sites for that. Corellia is not a war zone. Corellia is a huge, amazing city that is the culmination of one of the biggest war scenes in all of Star Wars and definitely the biggest one in our game.
Another question, will there be any world bosses?
There are world bosses. I'm not sure where the world boss is in Tatooine, or I'd go find him for you. I went and got to fight the one on Droman Koss the other day, and it was really fun on the server because the testers don't know where he was. I didn't know where he was because combat guys just put them in there. So we all wandered through a swamp. We formed a raid group. We got 10 of us together, ran around, found the world boss, and we'd spread out to try to fight him. So I was part of the 3 guys who almost got stomped flat because we were by ourselves. Luckily, again, I was an assassin, so I just stealthed and hid under a rock.
Hold on. Okay. Do you want to talk at all about release date? I know everyone wants to know about it.
Sure. We are not making any new announcements about the release date at the show.
And are we still on track for 2011?
We are on track for 2011. We were going to talk about the release date, but Steven said it would be funnier not to.
Thanks for blaring. Can you summon your starship any way you want?
No, starships are very, very large. One of the things that we had to deal with, in fact, many of the planets later on that we were doing for sheer size do not have their actual spaceports even here. They have spaceports that are up in their space stations instead where you land and they shuttle down. One of the things that we did in the Old Republic is we made everything the actual size it needed to be. So unlike the Ebon Hawk, which was sort of a clown car, when you got out you noticed it was not very big. Excuse me. There's a limit even to my talking. Mm-hmm. In the Old Republic, the ships are actually real size, so they are huge. If you guys have seen the walkthroughs of them, where you're walking around the ship, these are enormous crafts, so you can't just drop them in the middle. You can, of course, bind yourself nearby your ship and pop back.
What kind of level range is Tatooine?
Tatooine, I believe, is around, and don't quote me on this, and it could change. All things are good. None of this is true. So I think it's around 24 to 28. They overlap a little bit.
Can you level and play? Can you level and play solely through PvP?
You really can't, because all of your gating things are class quests. So you absolutely can level through PvP. In fact, there's something fantastic about finishing a PvP match and then getting your level. But you'd be gated in all of your primary stuff. So once you were off of the capital worlds, so once you were past Coruscant and Droman Koss, you could do it, but it would be a pretty bad way to play.
Pretty open question. Can you talk about the bounty hunter advanced classes?
I can. So the bounty hunter has 2 advanced classes, which is the power check and the mercenary. So if you take a look at my little tree here, so the Power Tech has 3 pieces. You see Advanced Prototypes, which are really about your gadgeteer, Shield Tech, if you're trying to go tank, and then Firebug, which is, as it sounds, I like fire. Fire, fire, fire. If you want to just be really, really good at your flamethrowers, at your explosions, all of that stuff, more sort of control and AoE, you can go into this one. The Power Tech is really about your gadgets and your utilities. It really goes into the mercenary to be just your heavy, high-powered. I've got 2 guns and I'm going to do a ton of damage.
I think we'll probably be wrapping up after the next couple of questions.
Okay. Stephen is bringing us
just trying to find a couple more.
A couple more fantastic questions. And again, apparently it's over 8,000 now in the chat.
Oh, we got over 10,000.
We're over 10,000 at one point, which is fantastic. So thank you guys very much. I know this was a little hard starting out. We really appreciate you being here.
Glad to stay up. What happens if your companion dies?
If your companion dies, you can actually, as long as you live, you can bring your companion back up. In fact, one of the interesting things in the Old Republic is, again, trying to make sure that group dynamic works well. And, you know, think of an old traditional RPG. If anybody in your group survives, they can res everybody else, including the companions. If your companion is the only one left that survives, you're wiped.
It's worth mentioning that the graphic settings in the game are turned down a little bit to make sure that we get high performance, which is why you're not necessarily seeing all the shadows you might expect. In addition, we're obviously streaming this live, so you're probably seeing a sort of degraded picture as well.
Did you guys all hear all those disclaimers?
Yeah, Steven? Just throw those disclaimers in.
Yeah, so if you didn't, basically saying this is not what the game looks like when it's not streaming live. We have the graphics turned down a lot to try to get a little bit higher feed, and our internet connection is a little tight here. There are a lot of people at E3 using the interwebs, and as we know, they are giant tubes and they get filled with things. Man, this planet is big.
Well, that was a question. The areas, that was more of a comment, the areas you're traveling in look a little bit barren. We're wondering where mobs and NPCs can be found.
Well, Tatooine is actually
pretty barren.
Yeah, it's kind of barren. As you see, there are mobs actually all over the place. We're not really in a questing area so much here. Tatooine was a hard balance to strike because in one of the earlier builds we had it pretty mob full and it really didn't look like Tatooine anymore. So for Tatooine to really sell, you need to spread things out. So Tatooine tends to be some pretty tight clusters. So we're headed out into the Dune Sea, which you see a very different type of desert terrain now. Tatooine tends to be tight clusters separated by a lot of space. And it really does sell the Tatooine feel.
Okay, I think we're probably going to wrap up.
All right, we are actually at the end of our time. You guys got to see more than the people here at the show floor got to play, so I hope that was exciting. And yeah, so stick around for more live events on EA.com. The next one starts shortly after this.